Stop. Don't scroll. There is a name on your mind today, a face that has kept returning even when you tried to focus on something else. You have been carrying a silence that stretches back months, maybe longer, that you cannot fully explain. You are exhausted in places that rest has not reached, and today, because of what you chose not to abandon, an exception was opened in heaven. For you. Right now. Your body goes horizontal, but your soul stays standing. On guard, waiting for a confirmation that has not come in the voice you recognize. You wake at 2 or 3 in the morning with a pressure in your chest that has no name, not fear, not grief. The weight of someone who was chosen before they felt ready, carrying more than the day placed on them, unable to set it down before the pillow. It is not only the nights. There is a pattern you have diagnosed more than once. You can describe the error with precision, and still in a different context with a different person, under different pressure, the pattern completes itself again. You are not lacking awareness. You are standing at a crossroads that requires something you cannot reach through willpower alone. The diagnosis is clear, the key is not. There is a door. You cross it every night. And the people on the other side have learned to read the weight before you speak. Your spouse stopped asking how it really went, not from indifference, but because the answer arrives before you do. Your children hear the key in the lock and adjust before you enter. There is a face and a child, a grandchild, that has stopped running toward you when they hear you come in. You feel it, and it costs you more than you say out loud. In the next few minutes, I will show you exactly where you have been for the past several months, and for the first time, the silence you have been living in will make sense. Not the general picture, the specific night, the specific decision, the specific conversation. I will give you 3 Hebrew words almost no one has been taught. When you hear the third, you will understand why that name keeps returning. This happens inside this video. Before this ends, I will declare 3 names over you. Not a generic blessing, but a specific commissioning that does not expire when the video stops. I do not promise this changes your life by tomorrow morning. I promise that if you stay until the end, you leave knowing something you did not know, with something specific in your hand and with something declared over you that remains. If you leave in the middle, you leave without the ceiling. And the ceiling is what changes what happens when you walk through that door tonight. There is a seed inside what you are living right now, and a seed in winter does not announce itself. The ground is hard, the light is gone, and nothing on the surface gives evidence of life underneath. But the seed is not dying. It is working in a silence that looks identical to abandonment. It was placed with intention, by hands that knew exactly what it carried and exactly when it would break ground. The season you cannot see is not empty. It is loaded. You have not been fighting badly. Let me say that again. You have not been fighting badly. You have been fighting without the instrument that was promised to you, but that you did not yet know existed. This is not a character failure or a faith deficiency. It is the gap between a divine appointment made in eternity and the tool that was always meant to arrive before you walked through that door. The appointment is not cancelled. The tool has not been withheld. It was waiting for this moment. If what I just described belongs to you, the weight, the pattern, the door, the face that stopped asking, write "I am here" in the comments right now. Let this become an altar. And know this. About exactly that weight, that pattern, that door, Moses left something recorded. A 2-minute key that fits inside your ordinary day, available to any hand willing to reach for it. I will show you what that is before this is over. Hold it in the back of your mind. And if you need to leave before the end, that instrument is already waiting in the first pinned comment right below this video. But I'm asking you to stay until the end, because without the context coming next, the key will not work with the same force in your hand. What I am about to show you is not a technique, it is a name. And the name changes everything about why that face is still on your mind right now. But consider this before we go further. What happens to a seed that no one planted, no one waters, and that insists on growing anyway? What force drives something living upward through frozen ground, without sunlight, without rain, without a single signal from the outside world that the season has changed? There is a word for that force. And when I tell you what it is, you will recognize it. Stay with me. You arrived here today because a name that kept returning. a face God placed before you, opened an exception in heaven. The word was received, the decree was issued, and now begins the part most chosen ones miss, because between the call to be genuinely present with someone and the arrival, truly present, unloaded still, there is an interval the enemy understands better than you do. It is in that interval, between hearing the name and arriving at the threshold with genuine stillness, that most anointed ones lose what was granted, not because the decree was revoked, because they arrived at the door still carrying what should have been laid down before it. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. That is not a title from a history book, it is a biblical record signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything at all, he did not ask for wealth or long life or the defeat of his enemies. He asked for wisdom, and God was so moved by the request that he gave the wisdom and everything else along with it. He judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom could. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the highest historical peak that nation ever knew, before or since. The Queen of Sheba traveled months by camel just to test that wisdom, and when she returned, she said not even half of what she had heard had been told. And Jesus himself, Jesus in person, cited Solomon by name. He did not take that wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with a surgical precision that crossed 3,000 years without losing its edge. He left recorded how to stop arriving at the appointed moment, still carrying the weight of the last collision on your shoulders, so that the person God positioned in your path today receives your actual presence, not the residue of everything the morning already took from you before you reach them. He left recorded how to walk through that specific door tonight as stillness, not as an unresolved emergency, arriving at people who needed a pillar, not a man still processing what the street refused to absorb. And he left recorded how to stand before that person with the spine of someone who knows they were sent. So you stop deciding under pressure, stop asking counsel from those who pull you under, and stop performing a piece you have not yet found. Before I name the instrument, move your thumb to the first pinned comment, right below. Don't click yet. Just let your gaze reach it and recognize that it's there. Do that now. I gathered this into a guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. It is a primary written guide in PDF that you read in a single 40-minute sitting, plus the audio of the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep in MP3 to listen to before bed, and the written guide of the 7 morning decrees in PDF to open in the first hour of the day. It is in the first pinned comment, right below. The union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, drawing a person out of survival mode and into clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the ordinary day you are living right now, in the week that begins tomorrow. With the main guide come 2 instruments I placed there because without them, the guide would have a gap. The first is the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep. 10 minutes before bed, guided by what David wrote in Psalm 4:8, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Not a modern relaxation technique, the act of handing to the guard of the one who does not sleep what you carried all day, so that your soul stops standing watch over the name that wouldn't leave your mind, over the door you still need to cross tonight, over the person waiting on the other side of it. For everyone who no longer remembers what it feels like to lay down and have the mind close with the eyes. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes at waking, before your phone, before your coffee, before the first message the world tries to write into you. 7 decrees spoken in your own voice, drawn from the wisdom of Proverbs. That position the day before the day positions you. Not positive affirmation, biblical decree in your own voice. The posture of the one who was sent before the calendar, the weight and the name on your mind are allowed to speak first. And the price? The price. Less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a simple Sunday lunch with your family, less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I placed it there on purpose, not because it is worth little. It is worth what Solomon left recorded across 3,000 years. I placed it there so that the only obstacle between you and this guide would be your decision to extend your hand. Not price, not schedule, not distance, only your hand toward the link. And there is a 7-day guarantee when written out in full. If you open it, use it for a week, and it does not serve you, you send an email and receive every dollar back. And here is the part no one does. You keep both bonus instruments. The ritual of the righteous sleep stays with you. The awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees stays with you, even after the refund. That is not a generous concession. It is the recognition that the risk of testing cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk that remains for you is the risk of not testing. And the risk of not testing is the risk of walking through that door tonight, carrying the same weight you brought in. Several people here on this channel in recent weeks have already received this instrument. Fathers, grandparents, people who carry their household on their backs. I have read messages from those who slept through the night for the first time in months, from a husband who sat down at the dinner table and his wife noticed the difference without needing to ask, from a grandmother who managed to pray with her grandchild without the weight of the day crossing the prayer. It is not magic. It is the right instrument in the right hand. And while they sleep tonight with their soul handed over, your calendar keeps running. The next night you lay your head on the pillow with your soul still standing. Watch is not months away. It is tonight. Maybe 3 hours from now. The next morning you wake already carrying the weight before the first word is spoken is tomorrow. Maybe in 6 hours. Each night without the ritual of the righteous sleep is a night your body pays. Each morning without the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees is a morning the world writes first. Each day without the code of Solomon's wisdom is a day you arrive at that door still carrying what the threshold was meant to hold back. The cost of postponing is not 0. But do not leave now. The ceiling is not finished. What I need to show you next is greater than any instrument Solomon left recorded. It is the Hebrew name of what is happening to you in this exact moment, the name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you chose today. And when you hear that name, you will understand why that person is still on your mind and why today was never an accident. Stay. Before I name what you carry, I need you to recognize it, not from a list of symptoms, from a fingerprint. What I am about to describe are not generic signs of spiritual difficulty. They are the specific marks left on a person who has been holding a divine appointment without yet knowing what to call it. 5 signs. They do not all carry the same weight for every person, but I want you to count as I go, not for a score, for recognition, because the person who can count at least 3 is not struggling. They are being prepared for the encounter they were never going to miss. The first sign is this: your prayer changed, not stopped, changed. There was a season when you prayed and the ceiling opened, words came back, clarity returned, direction moved, and somewhere in recent months the same prayers stopped feeling like communion and started feeling like surveillance, like you were checking to see if the line was still connected. You still kneel, you still speak, but the voice that used to feel near has gone quiet in a way you have not been able to explain to anyone. You decided not to announce it. You kept showing up. That discipline is not weakness. It is the posture of someone guarding a prayer that has not yet been answered out loud. The second sign is the pattern you have diagnosed and cannot break. You know what it is. You could describe it to a stranger with precision. The context it appears in, the pressure that triggers it, the version of yourself that shows up when it does, and still, in a different month, with a different person, under different pressure, it completes itself again. Not because you lack awareness, because awareness is not the key that breaks a pattern. Willpower inside a cycle only accelerates the cycle. What you are standing in front of is a crossroads that requires something you cannot reach from inside exhaustion. The diagnosis is right. The instrument for breaking the cycle has not yet arrived in your hands. The third sign is the door, the one you cross every night. And in recent weeks, perhaps recent months, you have been bringing through it what should have stayed outside. Your spouse learned to read the weight before you speak, not from indifference or from protection. Your children hear the key in the lock and adjust before you enter. There is a face, a child, a grandchild, someone who used to run to the door, that has gone quiet in a way that costs you more than anything the day produced. That silence is not rejection. It is a signal. Someone who carries too much for too long begins to cross every threshold still carrying it, and the people on the other side receive what was never meant for them. The fourth sign is the drain with no single source. You can point to the effort, the hours, the weight, the calendar. But the math does not add up. You rest, and it does not restore. You recover in one area, and something slips in another. Energy that should return by morning has not fully returned in months. Resources you planned on arrive depleted at the moment they were needed. It is not mismanagement. It is the symptom of a person operating in sustained presence, without access to the internal stillness that presence requires, carrying the name on their mind, the decision in their chest, and the weight of every room they walk into all at once, without a key for setting any of it down. The fifth sign is the silence. Heaven has gone quiet for longer than you are comfortable admitting. You pray, and the answer does not come with the sharpness it once had. You wait, and the silence extends. Into that silence, a voice places an interpretation, forgotten, overlooked, no longer necessary. That voice is not the voice of God. That voice belongs to the one making the most of the only weapon available, the gap between the word that was given and the moment it becomes visible. The silence you have been living in is not absence, it is a preparation room, and preparation rooms do not announce themselves. If you recognize yourself in at least 3 of those 5, not all 5, 3, write in the comments right now. I carry what no one else carries. Do not write it as a claim of superiority. Write it as a statement of fact. What you have been holding through the ordinary days of this season, the prayer, the pattern, the door, the drain, the silence, was placed in your hands because you were capable of holding it without dropping what was inside. That is not a small thing. Let those words become an altar. Every one of those 5 signs is pressure, not random pressure, applied pressure. The kind that does not destroy what it touches, it reveals what was already inside. Coal under ordinary conditions stays coal. Coal under sustained, precise pressure becomes something that cannot be damaged by what formed it. The weight you have been under is not evidence that you are breaking. It is evidence that the process producing something irreplaceable is already underway. You are not in a collapse. You are in a refinement. And refinements have an endpoint, not a slow fading out, but a specific moment when the pressure lifts and what it produced is finally revealed. Before I give you the Hebrew name of what you carry, and that name is coming, I have not forgotten, I need to remind you of something I planted at the beginning. There is an instrument that Moses left recorded for the ordinary day, a 2-minute key that fits between the door you cross tonight and the weight you are carrying right now. I will show you what it is before this is over. But I need to give you the name first, because the instrument only makes complete sense after you know what you are carrying. The name changes what you pick up. The name changes how you hold it. There is a Hebrew word, 1 word, 2 syllables, and when you hear it, you will never look at the silence, the pattern, the door, or the name that kept returning the same way again. You will understand why that person has been on your mind. You will understand why today is not an accident. And you will understand why the 5 signs you just recognized were not the symptoms of someone breaking down, but the marks of someone standing on the exact threshold they were always meant to reach. Stay with me. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest, not as a ritual, as a marker, so that your body knows before your mind does that what you are about to receive is not information, it is identification. What comes next does not require your agreement. It only requires your presence. You are already here, that is enough. Feel the weight of your own hand on your chest and understand that what is underneath it has been carrying a name it did not yet know. The word is Moed. 2 syllables. M-O. Pause. E-D. Say it internally, not out loud. Let it land before you analyze it. Most people who encounter this word in a biblical context reduce it to a calendar term, a feast day, a Jewish holy appointment, a religious festival scheduled on a liturgical calendar. That is the surface. That is the translation for people who were never meant to carry what you carry. What most translations render as feast or appointed time is only the husk of a word that contains something far more precise and far more personal. Moed is not primarily about a date on a calendar. It is about a convergence, the moment when two parties, one who called and one who was prepared, arrive at the same threshold at the same time. Not by coincidence, not by coordination, by a covenant that was established before either party could consent to it. Layer 1. A marked encounter between two parties, neither of whom arrives by accident. Layer 2. The moment when what was promised in silence finally meets what was shaped in hiddenness. Layer 3. The interval between the word that was given and the fulfillment that is visible, but with a date already registered in the eternal record before the silence began. Listen to what the prophet Habakkuk wrote, and let it land differently now that you have the word. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. The word translated appointed time in that verse is moed. Habakkuk was not writing about a calendar. He was writing about a convergence, a moment already registered in the eternal record that the silence before it would never be able to cancel. The prophet was in silence. He climbed the watchtower to wait, and God did not give him a timeline. He gave him a name, and the name was enough. What you have been living, the months of silence, the prayer that changed, the name that would not leave, the pattern that kept completing itself. It has a name. It was never the absence of God. It was the architecture of a moed. The silence was not punishment. It was the antechamber of a marked encounter, one that required you to be in exactly the state you are in right now. Not more polished, not more prepared in the way the enemy told you you needed to be. Shaped. And the shaping happens in hiddenness, without announcements, in the exact kind of silence you have been living. This period has a name before it has an end. That is the most important sentence in everything I have said today. The silence did not wait for its end to receive its name. The MOED was registered before you entered the silence, and it remains registered now while you are still inside it. A seed in winter does not announce what it is becoming. The ground is hard, the surface gives no evidence, but the seed is not working toward becoming. It is already becoming in the exact darkness that looks identical to abandonment. The name MOED does not describe the moment when the ground breaks open. It describes the entire interval, from planting to emergence, as a single consecrated, uninterrupted appointment. The name that has been returning to your mind, the face you could not shake, is not psychological noise. It is a compass. It is the signature of a MOED on the surface of your ordinary day. Someone was positioned across from your path at a time when the eternal calendar said, now. And you were not chosen for that encounter randomly. You were placed in proximity to that person, weighted, shaped, prepared in hiddenness, because what you carry now is precisely what the encounter requires, not a polished version of yourself. The version that was formed in the silence you almost misread as abandonment. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I need to show you that someone carried this before you, someone who also heard a name he could not shake, a people who would not leave his mind, a mission he felt unqualified for, a silence he spent 40 years inside before the appointed moment arrived. And what happened to that person? What God asked him, what he held in his hand without knowing what it was, is going to change everything about how you walk through that door tonight. I promise to return to this. That moment is now. 40 years. That is how long the preparation room stayed silent before the fire spoke. You know that weight, not the weight of decades necessarily, but the weight of a season that stretched past the point where preparation still felt like preparation and started feeling like abandonment. Moses was there, not as a symbol, as a man. A man who crossed a threshold every night, not a home door, but a desert threshold, carrying the weight of a wrong decision buried in the sand and a resume of disqualification the enemy read back to him in the silences between prayers. He did not feel ready. When the bush burned and God said, "Go, be present with my people," Moses did not respond with clarity. He responded with a list, 5 reasons a more qualified man should be sent. He was slow of speech. He had a history. He had already tried to be the answer once and failed in the most visible way possible. He was not a polished messenger. He was a man who had been silent so long, he had almost forgotten that silence was preparation and not sentence. The MOED did not consult Moses' list. The appointed encounter was already registered. The date did not shift for his comfort. And then the moment that separated Moses, the symbol, from Moses, the man who learned to carry the appointment without being crushed by it. His father-in-law Jethro came to the camp and watched Moses judge from morning until evening, carrying every case, every dispute, every weight alone. And Jethro said, "What you are doing is not good. You will surely wear yourself out, and these people with you. The thing is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone." Moses listened. He delegated. He built a structure that preserved his capacity for genuine presence, so that when the appointed encounter arrived, he arrived with something to give, not something already exhausted from being given to everything else. That is not administrative efficiency. That is wisdom applied to the specific problem of arriving present. The day Moses stood before Pharaoh, not the first time when the staff was new, but the 10th time, when every wall had been tested, and the only thing remaining was what God had placed in his hand before the first refusal. The staff was the same ordinary shepherd's tool he had been holding in the desert for 40 years. What changed was not the staff. What changed was Moses. The silence had built something inside him that no shortcut, no accelerated preparation, no bypass of the formation room could have produced. The 40 years were not the delay before the Moed. They were the Moed itself, working in hiddenness until the encounter arrived and found him actually ready to hold what the moment required. If something in that story named what you have been living, the season that felt like exile but was actually formation, the wait that felt like disqualification but was actually preparation, the door you cross every night that is asking for something different from you, press like right now. Not for this video. For the person in your life who is inside their own desert season and does not yet know the name of what they carry. Every like is one more person who also needs to hear this. You are not pressing for me, you are pressing for them. Your first name is this: keeper of the appointed moment, the silence you have been guarding, the unanswered prayer, the name that kept returning, the encounter you did not fully understand. You did not guard these things out of stubbornness. You guarded them because they were too important to be released before the right hour. What Moses protected in the desert years was not time. It was the capacity to arrive at the appointed encounter with something intact that premature action would have broken. You have been doing the same thing, without a name for it, until now. This name authorizes you to stop apologizing for the season. It authorizes you to stop explaining the silence to people who were not inside it with you. A keeper does not justify what he guards. He guards it because it is worth keeping, and the one who placed it in his hands already knew the hour when it would be required. The appointed moment does not arrive with an announcement. It arrives and finds the keeper already there, already holding what the hour demands. You have been holding it. That is not failure. That is fidelity. Your second name is this: bearer of presence. Not bearer of a message, a resource, a plan, or a resume of spiritual credentials. Bearer of presence, which is the single most irreplaceable ministry one human being can exercise over another. Moses did not arrive at the people with a solution in his hands. He arrived with himself, shaped by silence, instructed by Jethro, carrying an ordinary staff that God had already decided was sufficient. The people did not need a spectacular arrival. They needed someone who arrived, truly, with the weight laid down before the threshold. This name authorizes you to stop measuring your arrival by what you produce at the encounter. What God scheduled for you today does not require a performance. It requires your actual presence, unloaded enough to be there. The spouse who stopped asking, the child who stopped running to the door, the face that is still waiting. They do not need you to have it resolved. They need you to have arrived, and this name says you can. Your third name is this: sent before the hour. Moses was positioned in the desert long before the burning bush appeared. The 40 years were not wasted placement. They were strategic pre-positioning. The encounter required a man who knew the desert, who understood what surviving silence felt like from the inside. He was sent before the hour, and so were you. The name that has been returning to your mind today is not an accident of memory. It is the signature of your positioning, proof that you were placed in proximity to that person before the appointment was visible to you. This name authorizes the urgency you feel without the paralysis urgency normally brings. You were sent before the hour, and the hour has arrived. Not tomorrow. Not after you have resolved the pattern, rested the body, fixed the door. Today. The MOED does not wait for optimal conditions. It was scheduled for this version of you, the one still carrying weight, still praying into silence, still crossing that threshold tonight. Sent before the hour means the sending already happened. You do not need to become ready. You were sent. 3 names, 3 frequencies. Moses operated on the same frequency, not because he felt it clearly in the desert years, but because he had been tuned to it before he understood what the signal was. A receiver does not generate the frequency. It captures what is already being transmitted. What I just declared over you did not create something new. It named what was already transmitting. Keeper of the appointed moment, bearer of presence, sent before the hour. These are not aspirations. They are identifications. The frequency was already yours. Now you know what to call it. But there is something the enemy does not want you to know about these 3 names, because when you discover it, he loses the primary weapon he has been using against you, the one that has worked every time before today. And I am about to show you exactly what that weapon is. Now the enemy knows you know. That changes everything. Before you heard the name Moed, you were a target moving without awareness of the battlefield. Now you are a target who can name the terrain. And a soldier who can name the terrain is no longer simply a target. The adversary does not regroup casually. He has 3 specific attacks prepared for the person who just received 3 names. I'm going to name each one before he deploys it, because a tactic named in advance is a tactic disarmed before it lands. The strategic map is now open. The first attack arrives disguised as humility. Look at the people around you. Look at how far they have come. Look at the peace they carry, the clarity they speak with, and look at where you still are. The enemy will use someone else's timeline to make your silence feel like disqualification. He will take the name that kept returning and reframe it. If God really scheduled this encounter for you, wouldn't you feel more ready by now? Wouldn't you carry more peace? Maybe the appointment was for someone else, someone who arrived less loaded, less fractured, less late. You do not answer that voice with logic. You answer it with decree. Your trajectory cannot be compared. No other person was positioned where you were positioned. No other person carried what you carried through this season. No other person was sent to that specific encounter, with that specific name, on this specific day. The MOED was not scheduled with someone more qualified. It was scheduled with you, the exact version of you that came through the silence. Speak it aloud now. My path is singular. I was not made to be compared. I arrive. The second attack targets the silence itself. The enemy cannot cancel the MOED, but he can fill the interval with noise, the calendar pressure, the family tension, the small fire appearing in a different corner of your life every 3 days. His strategy is not to destroy the encounter. It is to keep you too occupied with static to hear the still small voice that has been speaking the entire time. He knows that if you mistake preparation for abandonment long enough, you will stop expecting the appointed moment and walk through that door tonight still carrying everything the threshold was meant to hold back. You have an altar, a specific moment, not generic faith, a specific memory, when God was undeniably real in your life. A moment that cannot be reinterpreted, cannot be explained away, cannot be filed under coincidence. Go back to that altar right now. That moment is legal evidence in the court of heaven. It is testimony, and testimony silences interpretation. The enemy can fill the present with static. He cannot erase what you already saw. Return to that altar every time the noise tries to rewrite the silence as rejection. The altar does not expire. The third attack is the most dangerous, because it arrives when you are closest. The enemy does not concentrate his force at the beginning of a season. He concentrates it at the end. He waits until you are already worn from carrying the weight of everything that came before. And then he pushes everything onto the final mile. The message is ancient and precise. You have come this far and nothing has changed. The door tonight will be exactly like every other door. You have nothing new to bring. The window for this person has already closed. Do not receive it. The weapon here is not speed, it is not strategy, it is refusal. You do not need to run faster at the final mile. You only need to refuse to leave the threshold. Moses did not produce a prepared speech at the burning bush. He was not eloquent, he showed up. That was all the threshold required. Tonight, when the voice says you have nothing new to bring, you arrive anyway. You stand in the doorway. You do not leave. What was scheduled inside that encounter does not require your perfection. It requires your presence. And presence is the one thing that cannot be outsourced to a more qualified person. Subscribe to this channel right now, not as a social gesture, not to help an algorithm. As positioning, the days ahead of you are not ordinary days. The MOED opened today will echo through your calendar for weeks. What God is building in this season requires that your receiver stay tuned to the frequency being transmitted here. Subscribe as someone who knows they are in formation and needs to remain connected to what is being spoken into that formation, not a fan pressing a button, a vessel positioning its opening toward what is being poured. The signal is already coming. Now you know what you are facing, and you know what you are holding. The map is open. The names are declared. The weapons are in your hands. There is only one thing remaining, a prayer. Not a prayer I am going to deliver to you. A prayer you are going to make, out loud, in your own voice, with your own hands on your own chest. I am going to lead it. But the voice that speaks is yours, and what happens when you speak it will change what crosses that threshold tonight. Stay. This is where everything declared over you becomes sealed. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Breathe deeply before we continue. Not as a ritual gesture, as a marker, so that your body knows, before your mind does, that what happens next is not instruction. It is identification. You do not need eloquence for what comes. You do not need to have arrived cleaned up or resolved. You only need to be present. And you are already here. That is the only credential this moment requires of you. Father, I come to you with what I have been carrying, a body that has lain down for months and risen still unrested, the weight arriving before the first thought of the morning, before the alarm finishes its warning. My chest already holding the next day before the current one has ended. Decisions I have circled without landing, because the clarity I needed did not come in time, and the cost of choosing wrong felt heavier than continuing to wait. And the door, the one I cross every night. I have been bringing through it what I was never meant to carry that far, unloading on the other side of the threshold what should have been laid down before it. I confess the exhaustion in all three of its layers. I confess the pattern I named and still could not break. I confess that the people on the other side of that door needed me to arrive, and I came waited, and yet I am still here. The appointed moment found me here, not fled, not finished, not absent, still present, still holding. And because I stayed, I receive what was declared over me today. I am the keeper of the appointed moment. I am the bearer of presence. I am the one sent before the hour. These are not names I work toward. They are names that were true before I heard them, written in a record that the silence could not erase and the enemy could not overwrite. I receive them now, into this chest, into these hands resting over it, into the name that has been returning to my mind, which I now understand was never noise. It was a compass. I saw you in the nights you lay on your back and stared at the ceiling, the pressure arriving before a single thought had fully formed, before the room had gone fully dark, your chest already carrying the weight of the next day, before the current one had finished. I saw you turn to one side and then the other, searching for the position where the weight would settle. There was no position. I know that. I was in the room with you, in the silence between each exhale, watching you search for a rest your body alone could not produce. You were not forgotten in those hours. You were being formed in them. I saw you at the table where the decision sat waiting, the one you turned over until the turning itself became the exhaustion. I saw you reach into conversations with people who did not have the clarity to give, looking for a word that would finally make the crossroads simple. I saw the morning you woke with the wrong choice already made, sitting alone in the quiet before anyone else rose, carrying the weight of a pattern you had diagnosed correctly, but could not stop from completing itself again. You were not careless. You were without the instrument the crossroads required. That instrument is now in your hand. I saw you in the hallway. Key still in the lock, the house already adjusting before you stepped through the door. I saw you set your bag down and try to make your face say what your chest had not yet delivered. I saw the child who stopped running to meet you. I saw the one who asked how it went, heard the silence arrive before your answer, and learned to ask less often. I saw what that cost you. The specific ache of standing in the same room as someone who needed your stillness, while the stillness was still outside on the front step. I saw every one of those evenings, and I did not look away from a single one. I prepared you in the silence for what you could not have carried without it. The name that kept returning to your mind today was not a failure of concentration. It was my handwriting, in your ordinary day, the signature of an encounter I scheduled before you understood you were being positioned for it. You are not too late. You are not the wrong one. I needed the one who came through the silence, not around it, not past it, through it. That is you. The MOED does not wait for a polished arrival. It waits for the one who was sent. Go through that door tonight knowing that what is on the other side of it was placed there by the same hands that placed the name in your mind. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Don't say amen yet. Stay here. Let what was just spoken settle past the surface, past what you felt in the emotion of this moment, down into the layer that carries decisions forward after the screen goes dark. The seal is still fresh. The words that were spoken over you in these last minutes are not yet dry. Stay in them. Let them set. You remember the seed I described at the beginning, the ground that was hard, the surface that gave no evidence, the silence that looked identical to abandonment. I need you to understand what just happened in this prayer. The ground broke open. What was working in the darkness, what was being formed in the hiddenness of months you almost misread as neglect, has just broken the surface. The seed did not die in the winter. It was always becoming. And what it was becoming is standing here right now, hands on chest, breathing, with 3 names declared over it and a name in the mind that is no longer confusion. It is a compass. The season changed, not tomorrow. It changed in this room, in this moment, before you said, Amen. Now you may say, Amen. Don't open your eyes yet. Keep your hands on your chest. The seal is fresh, and it's exactly now that the adversary will try his first attack. What was sealed here will be tested on the first Monday morning, when the alarm sounds, when routine returns, when the voice of the cycle tries to reread tonight as passing emotion. Whoever was commissioned without a guide walks open territory without what Solomon left recorded. The exception was opened in heaven. Now it needs to survive the ordinary day. The code of Solomon's wisdom is in the first pinned comment, right below. Not as a substitute for what you received here, as a companion to defend what was sealed, because a decree without a guide rots on the first Monday morning, and the adversary counts on Monday. Less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a Saturday afternoon snack, with a 7-day guarantee and both bonus instruments that stay with you even if it doesn't serve. The risk is ours. The hand is yours. Click now, while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after the shower, not after speaking to someone, because whoever leaves it for later, leaves it for never. And the adversary counts on later. That voice whispering right now, you'll see later, decide tomorrow, and now is not the time. That voice is not yours. That voice is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground on your Monday morning. He already counted on later in every other message you received and postponed. He counts on later now too. This will not be one more. Click before the adversary speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. And now, the last word. Someone in your life carries that same name on their mind right now, the same door to walk through tonight, not yet knowing they are already inside their MOED. They will not stop the scroll alone. Send this. It is not a share. It is an arrival before the hour. Now close your eyes, breathe 3 times, stay in silence until the video ends. Don't scroll. Don't leave. Stay.